Celtic kicked off the new season with 3 points, but make no mistake, that was miles off what we expect from this football club. A win's a win, sure, and we'll take it, but if anyone thought we'd come roaring back after last season's underwhelming finish, they were left scratching their heads. That opening match against St. Mirren at Celtic Park was anything but convincing, flat disjointed, and at times almost painful to watch. And I get it, first games can be tricky bit. Of rust, some new faces, a bit of adrenaline. But this wasn't just rust. This was a continuation of the same sluggish, uninspired football we saw in the closing stages of last year. It started all right. The first 15 to 20 minutes had a bit of energy. We were direct playing through the lines, trying long balls. Down the wings with Tierney and Johnston pushing forward. You could feel there was an attempt to speed things up to play with some verticality, and there were even a couple of promising moments in the final third. But then, as quickly as it sparked, the tempo completely died. It was like watching a balloon deflate. Players began retreating into their shells. Possession got slower, and the old frustrating habit of turning backwards to the keeper instead of driving forward reared its head again. It wasn't just one or two. Across the pitch, you had guys looking uncertain, hesitant, almost like they didn't know what their role was. And that right there is a problem, because you can forgive the odd mistake or a lack of sharpness in the first match, but when your players are passing sideways with no urgency in front of your own fans at home on Flag Day, that's a red flag. And the groans from the stands told the story. You could hear the frustration building, especially after every backward pass that killed what little momentum we had. Now let's talk individuals. Benji Negron, who to be fair looked brilliant in preseason, struggled massively. It was his competitive debut, and maybe the occasion got to him, but he looked off the pace unsure and never really found a rhythm. His passing was erratic, his positioning was questionable, and when we needed someone to bring some creativity and spark in the middle, he just didn't offer it. He's clearly a talented lad, but this was a tough watch. Yang was another one. Started the match, but you'd be forgiven for forgetting he was on the pitch. Completely ineffective. Every time he got the ball, his first instinct was to look for Alistair Johnston behind him instead of driving at his man. That's not what you want from a winger at Celtic Park. We need players who are brave, who commit defenders, who stretch the game. Instead, we got safe sideways football that allowed St. Mirren to settle and feel comfortable. In midfield, McGregor and Hattade were busy but not effective. They moved a lot, tried to get on the ball, but nothing stuck. Hattade had a few nice touches here and there, but his passing was off. McGregor looked like he was trying to do too much at once, and instead of controlling the tempo, he was chasing it. There was no rhythm. And without someone in that midfield to dictate play, the whole team looked lost. Up front, Adam Ida was isolated and frankly disappointing. He got very little service, yes, but when the ball did come his way, he didn't do enough with it. No presence, no hold-up play, no threat in behind. For a striker expected to lead the line this season, that's worrying. And listen, we all know how much we paid for him, but just because you've spent money doesn't mean you've solved the problem. Based on this performance, it's clear Celtic still need a proper number 9. Someone who can deliver week in, week out across a full campaign that includes the league, the cups, and the Champions League. And that brings us to the bigger issue. Recruitment. The fact that we're starting the season with clear gaps in the squad is inexcusable. We've had all summer to get bodies and to improve the starting 11, not just fill the bench. And yet here we are relying on a 34-year-old winger and scratching our heads over bench decisions. Where was Yamada? Why was Johnny Kenny coming on ahead of him when we needed a goal? These are questions supporters have every right to ask. This isn't about moaning for the sake of it. It's about putting the team in the best possible position to succeed from day one. Now, in spite of all this, Celtic still created chances. Neg had a big opportunity just before halftime, and it was only thanks to a top save from their keeper that the ball stayed out. Hattade had a shot deflected onto the bar. There was even a disallowed goal for a clear handball on McGregor, so it's not like the chances weren't there, but they came from moments, not patterns. There was no sustained pressure, no real fluency. It all felt very forced, very disconnected, like a team that hadn't played together before. Then just when it looked like it was going to be one of those days, Brendan Rodgers made the change. That changed everything. James Forrest came on, and within minutes you could feel the lift across the pitch. He brought control, purpose, direction. He stretched the game beat. His man got crosses into the box. Simple things done well. And more. Importantly, he took responsibility. No hiding, no sideways passing, no dithering, just straight up old-fashioned wing play. That's what made the difference. And if we're being honest, we don't win that match without him. The winning goal from Luke McCowan was scrappy. A deflected strike that wrong-footed the keeper and snuck into the corner. Not one for the highlight reel, but a goal that sparked absolute relief around the ground. You could feel the tension lift. Because let's be honest, if that game ended goalless, the atmosphere would have turned. People would have been angry, and rightly so. The board, the recruitment, the squad depth, it all would have come under the microscope. And probably with more venom than we've seen in a while. Now that one goal papers over a lot of cracks, it doesn't change the fact that we looked flat. It doesn't change the fact that our best attacking moments came from a veteran who wasn't even in the initial plans. And it doesn't change the fact that we're a few injuries away from looking very short in key positions. Tierney, for example, went off after 65 minutes. Hopefully it's nothing serious. He was smiling after the match, but if he's out for any length of time, who steps up? There wasn't even a natural left back on the bench. You look at the bench today, and it raises more questions than answers. No Inamura, no real attacking spark outside of Forrest. Trusty had to come on, and Scales had to shift to left back. And he'd actually been playing quite well at centre-back. Again, poor planning. If you know Tierney's history, why not have a proper backup ready to go? Even the pitch didn't look right. First game of the season, and the surface looked dry and patchy, especially in the corners. That's supposed to be the best it looks all year. What's it going to be like in January when the weather turns small detail, but it says something about the overall preparation? It all just feels neglected. From the stadium to the squad, everything feels a bit undercooked. And fans are noticing. People are talking. This isn't just moaning for the sake of moaning. It's frustration that the club isn't operating at the level it should. St. Mirren, to be fair to them, was solid. Well-organized, compact, and disciplined. They've given us problems at Celtic Park before, and today was no different. They didn't offer much going forward, but they didn't need to. Their game plan was clear. Frustrate, disrupt, and try to nick something from a set piece or a mistake. And they nearly did. You got to give them credit. They made life hard for us, and it took a deflected goal in the final minutes to break them down. But again, this is Celtic at home on the opening day of the season against a team with a fraction of our budget. This shouldn't be this hard. We should be making statements showing intent, putting the league on notice. Instead, we limped across the line with a sigh of relief. And if we don't improve, and fast, it's going to catch up with us. So yes, the 3 points are in the bag. But no one should be fooled into thinking all is well. This performance raised more concerns than it answered. And unless the board steps up, unless the squad gets bolstered, unless the manager is backed, properly we'll be back here having the same conversation in a few weeks. James Forrest, take a bow. You saved us today, but it shouldn't be up to you every time. This team needs more. This club demands more. If there was one overriding feeling walking out of Celtic Park after that match, it wasn't joy. It wasn't celebration. It was relief. Relief that we scraped the win. Relief that the roof didn't fall in right at the start of the season. And perhaps most worryingly, relief that a 34-year-old winger who spent more time out of the starting 11 than in it was the one to drag us over the line. Now, don't get me wrong. James Forrest has more than earned his status as a club legend. But the fact we're still turning to him in desperation tells its own story. Where are the new stars? Where's the injection of quality that was promised? Supporters have been patient. We saw the dip at the end of last season and accepted it for what it was. A team running out of steam, a manager trying to steady things after returning to a very different squad. But the understanding only goes so far, because over the summer we expected action, transfers, fresh ideas, ambition, and instead what we've seen is delay after delay, stopgap signings, and a squad that doesn't look ready for the demands of domestic dominance and European competition. And when you play the way we did against St. Mirren, no pace, no urgency, barely a coherent idea going forward. You can't hide behind the scoreline, because fans aren't daft. We've seen enough football to know when a performance flatters the result. And on Saturday, that 1-0 win was just about the least convincing 3 points we've had in a long time. If St. Mirren had a bit more quality in attack, or if the deflection on McCowan's shot didn't go our way, we could have been sitting here already behind in the title race. Let's also address the bench, or more accurately, what wasn't on it. No Inamura, no ready-made left back to come on when Tierney went off. No real attacking threat beyond Forrest. and a curious substitution decision where Johnny Kenny was sent on ahead of Shin Yamada. Now I get it. Kenny's got work rate, the manager maybe wants to reward his attitude in training. But when it's 0-0 at home, the crowd's getting restless and you need a spark, you'd think a more creative option might be the better shout. And here's the thing. Brendan Rodgers is a clever coach. He knows how to get the best out of players. But even the best managers need the tools to work with. You can't build a fortress with scaffolding. And right now, too many pieces of this squad still feel temporary or worse, undercooked. You got players like Yang starting when it's obvious he's more suited to impact sub roles. You got a midfield three with no balance. Three good players individually, but together they look like strangers. You got a striker up top who needs to be fed constantly to be effective, but there's no chemistry between him and the wide players. And then you've got defenders who are constantly being shuffled around to plug gaps. Liam Scales, the centre-back, was having a solid match, and suddenly he's been pushed out to the left because we've no backup fullback. That kind of patchwork. Setup might get you through against the bottom half of the league now and again, but when the schedule gets heavy and the pressure ramps up, it'll fall apart. And this is why fans are angry. Not because they enjoy complaining, not because we're ungrateful, but because we see the same patterns repeating. We don't prepare properly. We enter a new season a couple of key players short. And instead of addressing issues early, we wait until the window's nearly closed and then scramble for deals. That's not how you build a winning team. That's how you survive. And Celtic Football Club should never be about just surviving. You look at other teams in the league and there's been improvement. There's a bit of bite this season. Motherwell looked sharp, Hibernian were brave. Even Falkirk and Dundee United were going toe-to-toe in their match. There's a clear attempt by some of these clubs to play football, not just sit back and hope for a mistake. And that should raise the bar. Celtic need to respond to that with quality, not just reputation. Now, let's come back to Forrest, because what he did wasn't just technically impressive, it was an attitude shift. He came on with intent. He took the game into his own hands. And more importantly, he played like someone who knew the responsibility of wearing the shirt. That's what you want from your senior players. Not just experience, but leadership. But the sad truth is he looked like the only player on that pitch who really got it. Who understood what was required in that moment. Everyone else looked like they were waiting for someone else to step up. That's not a championship mindset. And then there's Luke McCowan, the match winner. Yes, the goal took a deflection, but he still had to take the shot. He was alert. He found a space and he had a go. That's what you want from a bench player. Come on, affect the game. Be brave. Make a difference. Now, let's be realistic. McCowan's not going to be starting against top European opposition. He's not the answer to our attacking problems. But in matches like this, he's proving to be a useful option. And that's important. Every squad needs those players who can come on and give you something different. But again, this can't be the blueprint. You can't rely on Forrest and McCowan to bail you out every week. You can't bank on late deflections and desperate cameos to dig you out of holes. There needs to be a system, a rhythm, a structure where you can see the plan even when it doesn't come off. Right now, there's none of that. It's just fragments. A bit of individual brilliance here, a bit of fortune there, but no real identity. And that's what's most disappointing. Because under Brendan's first spell, there was a clear style. Aggressive attacking football, high pressing, fast tempo, wide overloads. You knew what you were watching, even if you didn't know the lineup. You could see 10 minutes of a match and say, that's Celtic, but now you'd struggle to identify what the plan is. The players look caught between instructions, unsure whether to be bold or safe. That hesitation is deadly. And it all stems from a squad that isn't settled, from players who haven't had time to gel, and from a lack of decisive movement in the transfer window. Now, let's talk about the atmosphere, because for a flag day, that didn't feel like a celebration. Yes, the fans were in good voice early on. Yes, there was emotion in the tributes to John Clark and John Fallon, two absolute icons of the club who deserve every bit of recognition. But as the match wore on, that energy drained. You could feel it. The groans got louder, the frustration more visible. And if that goal doesn't go in if we drop points, the mood turns toxic. No doubt about it. The board were probably sweating. Bullets! Because there's only so many times you can ride your luck. And speaking of riding your luck, the draw for Europe is right around the corner. Let's be brutally honest here, we are not ready for that level. Not with this performance, not with this squad. We get a tricky tie on play like we did against St. Mirren, we're out before we even get started. It's as simple as that. So again, the urgency is there. The warning signs are flashing. But will the people upstairs take notice? That's the question. There was also some chatter about the pitch, dry, patchy, and already looking worn. And this is August, first game of the season. It's only going to get worse. Now it might seem like a minor complaint, but it reflects a bigger issue: attention to detail. If the surface isn't looked after, if the stadium feels neglected, if the overall match day experience feels second rate, then it speaks to a deeper complacency. Standard slip. And Celtic is a club that should never allow that to happen. Even the stadium itself, for those who were there, looked tired. The kiosks, the concourses, the general vibe, it didn't scream elite club. It screamed budget cuts. And fans noticed, especially those who pay good money season after season, expecting a product on and off the pitch that reflects the stature of this club. And when they don't get it, you can't blame them for voicing their concerns. We're not asking for miracles. We're asking for standards. Now we move forward. Next match. Another chance to reset. But unless the approach changes, we'll be having the same conversations. We need more from the boardroom. We need more from the recruitment department. We need more from the players. And yes, we probably need more from Brendan too. Because while his track record earns him time and respect, that only goes so far if the performances don't improve. The fans will always support. But they won't be silent. And let's finish this part on a note of reality. This wasn't about one bad game. This was about warning signs that have been building for months. The end of last season wasn't a blip, it was a trajectory. And unless we correct the course, we'll be watching our rivals grow stronger while we stagnate. That's the fear. That's the frustration. And that's why this win, as important as it was, felt like a temporary fix rather than a turning point. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. There's a fresh buzz sweeping across Glasgow's East End, and it's not just the changing winds off the Clyde, it's the murmurs surrounding Celtic's latest transfer activity. Rumors have begun to pick up serious steam that the boys have their eyes firmly set on a Scandinavian sensation, Mathias KVISTGAARDEN. The Danish striker, who has been lighting up the Danish Superliga with Brøndby IF, is reportedly the subject of intense negotiations behind closed doors at Celtic Park. Though the club has not made any official announcements as of yet, multiple sources close to the deal have hinted that terms are being finalized and a medical could be imminent. The excitement is palpable, with fans and pundits alike speculating that KVISTGAARDEN could become the newest cult hero in green and white. The striker's proven finishing ability, combined with his intelligent movement and physical presence, make him a tantalizing prospect for a Celtic side always hungry for attacking flair. Though whispers are still whispers at this point, the possibility of seeing KVISTGAARDEN celebrate in front of a packed paradise is already sparking dreams of glory among the Parkhead faithful. Behind the scenes, it's said that Celtic's recruitment team has been tracking KVISTGAARDEN for quite some time, impressed by his consistent performances and goal-scoring record in Denmark's top flight. At just 22 years old, he's viewed as not just a short-term injection of firepower, but a long-term asset who can develop under the guidance of Celtic's coaching staff. Observers note that the club's top brass have been scouting Europe for young, hungry forwards who fit the club's high-press, high-tempo style. Qualities KVISTGAARDEN has in abundance. Sources suggest that his versatility, capable of playing as a lone striker or in a two-man setup, adds to his appeal. While some in the media are urging caution, reminding fans that nothing is confirmed until pen meets paper, others point to the flurry of activity around Lennoxtown and increased chatter from Danish outlets as a sign that something is brewing. Whether this interest materializes into a concrete move remains to be seen, but the very notion of Celtic pulling off a deal for a forward of KVISTGAARDEN's caliber is enough to reignite excitement around the club's attacking prospects. What would a signing like KVISTGAARDEN mean for the current pecking order in Celtic's front line? That's a question being asked with increasing urgency. With Kyogo Furuhashi still a fan favorite and Oh Hyun-gyu showing glimpses of his promise, the arrival of another forward could suggest a tactical reshuffle, or even the possibility of one of the current names being moved on. KVISTGAARDEN's playing style is markedly different, more robust, more direct, and certainly more aerially adept. which would give Celtic a different kind of weapon, especially in tightly contested domestic matches or tricky European nights. Some insiders have hinted that Brendan Rodgers has been craving exactly that sort of presence to add more variety to his attacking options. While Rodgers remains tight-lipped publicly, his history of integrating youthful dynamic forwards into his system is well documented. If the Dane does arrive, the Parkhead faithful could expect a shift in how their team approaches the final third. Perhaps a blend of pace, power, and positional intelligence that KVISTGAARDEN has demonstrated consistently. For Brøndby, there's also the commercial and symbolic weight such a move could carry. Signing a rising star from Scandinavia would serve as a clear statement of intent from the Celtic board, especially given the rumored interest from other European clubs in KVISTGAARDEN's services. Whispers around Parkhead suggest that competition for his signature is stiff, with clubs in Germany and the Netherlands also keeping tabs. For Celtic to emerge as the preferred destination would signal their ambition to not only dominate domestically, but also to make deeper runs in Europe. It would reinforce the club's image as a launching pad for elite talent looking to take the next step in their careers. This fits well within Celtic's recent transfer model, buying promising players young, giving them European exposure, and potentially selling them on at a profit. But fans aren't thinking of resale value just yet. They're dreaming of volleys into the top corner last-minute winners and KVISTGAARDEN wheeling away in celebration as paradise erupts. Whether or not the deal materializes, the very rumor has reignited a sense of anticipation that had waned in recent transfer windows. For now, the green and white faithful will have to wait with bated breath as speculation continues to swirl. The name Mattias KVISTGAARDEN may not yet be etched onto the back of a Celtic shirt, but in pubs, living rooms, and supporters' forums across Scotland, he's already becoming a talking point. Could he be the missing piece in Rodgers' attacking puzzle? Could his signing herald a new era of clinical finishing and aerial dominance in the final third? The answers will come in time, but for now, the rumor mill churns with promise. Some say a deal is all but done. Others preach patience, warning against getting carried away. Yet the thought persists. A Danish matador striding out onto the Celtic Park turf, ready to leave his mark. If the whispers turn into reality, it could be the beginning of a thunderous new chapter in Celtic's storied attacking legacy. Only time will tell, but the Glasgow air is thick with possibility. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.